Hey, it's Dustin. Today I want to talk about maybe some signs that you would make a good freelance writer or a writer in general, and kind of ways to tell if you're good enough and if you should give it a try. So the first thing is that it's totally normal to have doubts and fears when you're starting out as a freelance writer or any kind of writer or any kind of freelancer for that matter. I had the same kind of fears and doubts when I started. Even now I kind of have the imposter syndrome where I wonder if I'm like a real writer or not, because I just write blogs and stuff for people. But if you do it for a living, I say you're a real writer, even though I don't necessarily believe that myself all the time. You might be wondering, like, who's going to want to pay for your work if you have no experience, whether you're writing a book or you're producing blogs and articles for websites. You might wonder why somebody would come to you when there's so many other options out there. But basically, all you have to do as a writer is solve a problem. Even if you're writing fiction, your problem is that you're entertaining people and giving them a cool story to read. Obviously, if you're writing like blogs and articles for a client, then you're solving the problem of helping them to rank higher in Google and getting content to their website that gets more viewers for them, and then they can make more sales from that. So if you think that you have a problem that you can solve through your writing, then you would probably make a good freelance writer. There's like millions of different businesses out there. They all have different kinds of budgets. So I'd say pretty much anyone, there's some kind of writing job out there that you're good enough for and that you can do. Even if your writing isn't the best, or your English, if your spelling and grammar you don't feel is like totally up to par, it's probably still better than English as a second language writers out there. Like, there's all kinds of writers from like India and the Philippines and Pakistan who don't even speak English as their native language, and they still manage to charge 1 to 2 cents per word. So as a baseline, I would say even a beginner freelance writer, if you have English as your first language, you should be able to charge like 2 cents per word. That's super competitive. You should be able to find lots of clients in that space, even if you're using content mills. I feel like if you're asking if you are good enough, that's probably a good sign, because it shows that you care and you're willing to improve yourself. That's a big part of excelling as a writer, is constantly improving. So you do some writing, you get experience, you see like what your mistakes are and what you could learn from that. So even if you just have that drive to improve, that's a good sign as a writer and an entrepreneur, that you're going to continually try and better yourself, and that'll really help you in business to be able to get in a position where you can charge higher rates and stuff like that. One sign that you would be a good writer of any kind is if anybody's ever complimented your writing. So if you did really well on an assignment in English class and your teacher really complimented you, or you wrote like a short story or some poetry and submitted it for a competition and you got any kind of good feedback, or you won any competitions, that's a really good sign. You don't need to even know all of the grammar and spelling rules to be a good writer. If you have like a basic understanding of spelling and grammar, you're probably good enough. Like, half the time I don't know what the difference between like an adjective and a verb and an adverb and what all those words are. So you don't need to be an English expert or major to be able to be a freelance writer. One thing that I've always done that I think lots of other writers also pick up on this, if you find yourself reading like a newspaper or a flyer and you are always catching typos, that's something that I always find that I'm doing. That's a good sign that you might be a great writer, and it's also a sign that you could be a good editor too. So if you don't want to be a freelance writer, you could always be an editor and check other people's work for spelling mistakes and stuff. That's another career that you could look for. If you're an avid reader, personally, I'm not. I don't read like fiction a lot. I don't have books that are constantly on the go. But if you do, that's a good sign that you could be a good writer, because normally readers tend to write a lot, or vice versa. There's some crossover there. I do spend a lot of time reading and replying to comments on like forums and Reddits and stuff. So I do feel like I read thousands and thousands of words a day online, but not necessarily in like a formal book setting. So I don't know if that counts, but if you spend a lot of your time doing any kind of reading, that's a good sign that you might want to pursue some kind of writing career. So like I said, there's not really any specific credentials or degrees that you need to get started though. Like I went to school for business, not any kind of English or writing. Basically, you just need to have the desire to do it and a little bit of knowledge and have the discipline to meet the deadlines. So if you want to be a freelance writer, I would say go ahead and give it a try. Otherwise, you'll always kind of wonder what if. Like I went into accounting, and then for years and years, I was like in the back of my head wondering, when am I going to write this book that I want to do, or I want to do writing instead of this, and then I finally did it. So I don't know, it'd be really painful if I waited another 10 years before I got started. So if you want to write, I would just write, even if it's in your spare time. Find like an hour or two in the evenings when you can write and do it then. But yeah, that's my tip. Most people, if you have like a basic education and you're relatively smart, you can make it as a freelance writer or any kind of writer, I think. So I would just give it a try and get started. So if you find that helpful, go ahead and subscribe to me. I'm going to have more videos for freelance writers and fiction writers and all kinds of writing and entrepreneurship related stuff in the future. So be sure to stay tuned for that, and I'll see you guys in the next video.